It's you and me.
Let's go!
Hey, we got 3 keys.
You know what 3 keys means?
What? Oh, God.
Observation tower.
Oh, yay.
We're going near the observation tower again. And we're gonna die, probably. Who knows? Morgana loves giving us extra trouble.
She really does. I'm afraid of what's behind this door.
We're not even the people who hurt her, and she's giving us this much trouble.
It's all because we fell in love.
Yeah. The keys fit perfectly in the opening on the lock, and when I insert the last one, it clicks open. The chains sealing the door, falling to the floor. They're waiting beyond this door, at the top of the stairs. I pondered what I can even do in a face-off against Morgana, which sends a nervous shudder down my spine. Yeah, you can't really do anything about Morgana.
Like, she's this all-powerful being compared to us.
Yeah.
Like, what can we do?
Honestly. Just say, how dare you, Morgana, take our wife? She's mine.
Oh,
Goodbye.
I'll kill you. Even though you're dead?
Yeah. I'm not going to back down regardless, but she is a witch, and I'm a mere human, formerly human. I'm not a master swordsman, nor do I wield a gun.
If only.
I have nothing at all with which to fight her. Oh yeah, Yuki-sama was a former swordsman, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Okay. I still have to confront the witch, though, no matter what. As laughably reckless, as foolish as I may be, I have no other option.
That's our man.
I place my hand on the door, preparing to climb the tower where I once spent my last breath. Giselle locks safely away in the chamber at the top. The tower where I first met the witch. No hesitation. I'm scared. Oh, yeah. The sound of blood streaming down the stairs echoed off the stone walls. Although I have begun growing numb to the house's otherworldly ornamentation, the sight of the seemingly endless river of blood flowing down the spiral staircase sends a chill through me. Every step I climb makes a splat noise. When I reach out the window, I look out to see a churning, reddish, black fog. Now, this brings me back. You climbing those stairs alone, just like old times. Morgana, I waited so long for someone like you to show up. Someone with enough despair to resurrect me. Give her back. But now, I don't see it in you. I don't feel one bit of that intense hopelessness anymore. Give her back. In here, I had thought we were cut from the same cloth. Morgana! Yes, I'll give her back. If you can make it to me without losing yourself. I will not give up. It doesn't matter what you do. Looking up, I can't see how far the stairs extend. It's just a gaping blackness. So I have no way of knowing for sure whether I'm getting any closer. Around and around, around and around, around and around. Beneath me, the blood river traces the same path in reverse. I start to wonder if the staircase even does end. If I'm not just eternally retracing my own steps. But I continue climbing regardless. It's all I can do. Put one foot in front of the other and hope I make it to the top. Morgana, what is this place? What did you do to it? What is it? Why, it's the mansion you lived in for a decade, of course. You look at this and tell me it's the same house. What's with the blood everywhere? And the 3 shadows? Now, my dear, no need to raise your voice. And you're still being impolite. One question at a time. Answer me. What is this place? That's immaterial. Even if I were to give you that answer you found satisfying, what would that knowledge do for you? Your objective is to reach the top of these stairs and rescue Giselle. Nothing more, nothing less, isn't that right? Or by chance, have you taken an interest in me, despite never once asking about myself before? My gut tells me that without knowing what this place is, without even the briefest glimpse at its nature, I won't be able to safely get her back. Without knowing what I'm up against, I don't stand a chance. Please tell me about this mansion, Morgana. About yourself. What are you, Morgana? A witch? No, that's not what I'm asking. Why do you have the powers you do? What are you? Yes, I get it. Humans feel the need to attach names to things and phenomena they don't understand. I understand the feeling very well. Which is why I'm sure you'll be rather disappointed when I reveal the truth. What do you mean? What I mean is, I'm an ordinary human.
No, you ain't.
That's not possible. You expect me to believe a human created this illusion? Then are you saying I'm a magician or a wizard like you might see in a fairy tale? I would believe that over you being human. Think back then, would you? Recall our time together. Did I ever once use magic?
You're an out-of-body voice. What do you mean?
Did I control fire or wind? Did I create illusions? No, I did none of that. Because I could not. To you, when you were alive, I suppose you could say, I was not but a simple ghost. A rather mischievous but otherwise powerless spirit. And I was nothing more to those three men either. The witch Morgana was never anything but a wretched phantom haunting this old house. But then, how do you explain this? Michelle, my dear, we're not the same beings we once were. We're different than how we were in the realm of light, the era of the living. You've figured that much out, though, haven't you? That you're already dead. Yes, I know. I know I couldn't possibly be alive. Yet still you view this world through the lens of the living. You make no effort to see it as the land of the dead. Tell me, why would you think that the realm of the living and dead are the same? Though the worlds behind each door were so vibrant, the mansion itself never had any color. They were the memories of the past, of the land of the living, of times forever lost to us. Our lives have already come to an end, my dear. Every last soul within these walls is dead. This is the world that lies beyond the end. It is my world. This is the afterlife. Why get caught up in the minutiae? None of us has a future, so what reason is there for you to desperately obsess over taking Giselle back? Just like you, she's long since dead. She's a walking corpse. It's nothing I didn't already know, but hearing her say it, it's like a kick to the gut. Dead or alive, she still lives on within this house, and my spirit found its way back too. Why then should I not wish for her to have a future? No matter what form it may take, no matter if my choices erase her from this world entirely. Having seen what lies beyond the door, in her heart, what happened in all those hundreds of years, I could never let her remain here with you. trapped in this world bereft of light, drifting aimlessly for all of eternity. So determined you feel the need to raise your voice. But you're not going to budge on that point, I see. I ask you this again, Morgana. Please tell me about yourself. How did you become a witch? How did you end up attached to this house? I want to hear your story. You honestly want to know about me? I do now, yes. But not for me. For her, right? Don't be shy now, it's the truth, isn't it? Besides, if you did say it was for me, not her, I might die of laughter.
Well, then you should have lied.
As you wish. You have seen many tales of people's lives since arriving here, and now you shall see mine. Though I ask you this, will you writhe in despair with me?
Probably.
Will you endure the maddening agony for me? Will you know pain enough to make you howl? Will you face despair again and again and again? As I said before, if that is what you want from me. Let me tell you something though, my dear. It will not be as easy to watch as you imagine. I'm scared.
I've been
What
afraid.
happened? Now that you've reclaimed yourself, you will be able to feel all my pain as if it were your own, to resonate with it. Resonate with it? You no longer have your little guardian with you either. My guardian. She was always protecting me. You'll have a wonderful time, I'm sure. It's a tale that could have only taken place in the era of miracles and spirituality.
Jesus?
Hello? Wondrous and weird, senseless and stupid. Hopelessly tragic. Will you watch it with me? Well, it looks like we don't have another choice, so, yeah, we're watching it with you, Morgana. And we're with her, so that means she's gonna be beating us up with horrible words of brutality and...
We gotta go through it for so.
As soon as the final word left her mouth, I'm engulfed in darkness, not even given a moment to brace myself. The tower's stairs crumble beneath me. My feet have nowhere to go, and I'm being battered by a roaring blood river. My consciousness melds with another.
Oh no.
Jesus?
I carry within me the child of God.
That is where it all began. The words of one foolish woman determined the course of my entire life. Before I was even born, my fate was decided. Did her claim come from faith? Was it her way of escaping reality? Did she do it for money or fame? I don't know.
I have been visited by an angel of the Lord.
The village where she lived had suffered from years of poor harvest. It had been months since the last rain, and the villagers prayed desperately to bless their success.
To be blessed with their succor? Sucker?
Sucker.
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 You suckers. Noun, assistance and support in times of hardship and distress.
Okay. It had been months since their last rain, and their villagers prayed desperately to be blessed with succor.
I am with child, though I have known no man. Oh my gosh, is she the Antichrist?
I'm so confused where this story's going. So I proclaimed the pregnant woman in the midst of a drought. And on the day of my birth, the very moment I let out my first cry, A heavy rain fell upon the village. The storm quenched the parched earth, nourishing the crops and saving the village. The villagers were astounded, for they thought that the drought would never end. As plump drops of rain poured down the village, they gathered around newborn me in exultation.
Huh, she is the child of God.
Perhaps there would have been more wonder in claiming I had magical powers. Perhaps it would make a better story if I were to say there were higher forces involved. But all these years later, here is what I truly think. It was nothing more than a fluke. An improbable stroke of luck. An unbelievably fortunate accident for my mother and the village. And an indescribably fortunate accident for myself.
I am with child, though I have known no man.
As if that's even possible. Maybe she had fooled around with a man who had gone and abandoned her. And she spouted those lies to convince herself it had never happened. None of the village men made claim to be my father. Perhaps he was someone else's husband, and as such, he couldn't reveal himself, as adultery is a sin in the eyes of God. The girl they were praising as the child of God was, indeed, not more than ordinary daughter of a wretched woman. At the time, though, I thought differently. I believed my mother's words, convinced I was a saint, and it gave me a sense of duty, of purpose, rather than superiority. As the daughter of God, I believed it was my responsibility to help anyone in need, so every day I prayed. I asked my father what I could do, what I was meant to do. Not everyone is equally good, however. There will always be someone who lends an ear to the devil's whispers. One man claimed I was the daughter of a charlatan. He shouted for all to hear, "If you really are a child of God, then perform a miracle for us." Could he have been any more unreasonable? Miracles are neither magic nor parlor tricks. They are realized through the power of faith. A lowly villager has no place in demanding God to prove his own divinity. It is the height of arrogance. But the man refused to heed my words. So having no other choice, I contemplated what I could do to show him I was indeed a saint. And blood was the spark of my inspiration. Michelle, the time when I lived and the time when you lived were not so different. Our views and beliefs about the world are very much the same. So you should understand that in our time, blood was seen as unclean. It was a dreadful thing, ridden with diseases, which is why we drained the blood from animals and purified the flesh before consuming it. But being a saint, my blood would have been different. Like the blood of saints who came before me, mine would be blessed. I believed it would be able to cleanse people's impurities. For my demonstration, I chose an elderly woman afflicted with a terrible disease. She was on her deathbed, and no one thought she would live any longer than another day or two. The woman was overjoyed I came to visit her. Sincerely believing me to be a holy servant of the Lord, she gathered all her strength she could muster to climb from her bed and kiss my feet. I felt an intensely deep love for this woman. Placing my hands upon her cheeks, I said with all the kindness in my heart, "My beloved sister, partake of my blood." The woman agreed without a glimpse of hesitation, and so I pricked the tip of my finger with a knife and let the blood drip in her mouth. Within 3 days, her health had improved enough for her to get out of bed unassisted. Seeing that no one in the village doubted my powers any longer. In fact, the man who had accused me of being the daughter of a charlatan was subsequently punished for his sins. He received much-deserved retribution for challenging the daughter of God, for mocking her. But of course, being a saint, I forgave the man. He in turn repented and changed in his ways, worshipping me as the true child of God. Now, I will be honest with you. I was ecstatic, utterly elated. It felt like I was on top of the world, and I reveled in it. The villagers showered me with adulation. They revered me, the daughter of God. Anyone who didn't was punished. And on top of that, my blood could cause miracles. Tell me, do you look down on me for feeling the way I did? The actual child of God would never let herself be consumed by such base emotions, would she? If you would give me a chance, I would like to explain myself. I was but a young girl at the time. And to a child, her mother is the world. Anything she says is the absolute truth. So when my mother claims so happened to coincide with a lucky miracle, my young mind was set in stone. I was a saint. My blood could heal the sick, and nothing could convince me otherwise. After all, I was but a girl of 6 years old.
Jeez, man.
I know. It is not the place to decide whether my blood truly had miraculous powers or not. If you think it did, then it did. And if you think it was all happenstance, then so it was. Miracles are brought about by faith. So the elderly woman who was healed was done so by the power of her own belief. Baseless hope and desire can at times make the otherwise impossible reality. You understand just how major a role religion played in our time, don't you, Michelle? Especially as someone whose life was taken from him in the name of God. And you understand how powerful word of mouth can be as well, don't you? It didn't take long for the word of the miracle-performing child of God to spread. Travelers from faraway lands came to our village, all in search for aid. Driven by a mixture of elation and duty, I gave my blessings unto every pilgrim who sought them. I gave them my blood, yes. My young hands were perpetually covered in wounds. Running out of skin on my fingers, I cut the back of my hand, my palms, my wrists. Before long, they had turned into swollen, carved-up black and red horrors. And I kept them wrapped in cloth at all times. The only time I uncovered them was to give blood to those who sought it. My lacerated hands were no uncertain terms gruesome and unsightly, but the believers who came to see me all wept at my selfless sacrifice. And so I came to cherish those wounds. There were some of whom no miracles took place, but whenever that would happen, the villagers would come out and say, "The daughter of God is not to be blamed. You simply lack sufficient faith." Thus, such incidents had no negative effect on my reputation as a saint. For 3 years, I continued doling out blessings. One day, while I was offering a prayer, my mother let slip her discontent. "Why must you hand out miracles for nothing? Why must you give strangers grace? We should be getting compensated. We deserve remuneration. If we charge just a little bit for each blessing, we could be living so much more comfortably." I was dumbfounded. How could the mother of a saint say such things? Helping people was my divine calling, and she expected payment? I nearly wept, hearing my mother preoccupied with such worldly desires. So I explained to her how important this work was. I taught her that we were not to covet material wealth, that we were not to dedicate our lives to the service of our fellow man. "You're right, my dear saint," she said, understanding. And I believed her, I fell asleep that night, convinced she truly understood, and that there would be no more problems. But the next day, I was sold off. Men I had never seen before carried me in their arms and tossed me into the carriage. Confused and panicked, I stuck my head out, searching for my mother. Off in the shadow of the house, I saw her with a strange man, accepting a bag of coins. The carriage rocked back and forth, as it rolled along the dirt road. Shaking and bouncing within it, I struggled, overwhelmed with grief and despair. It was perhaps the first time in my life I had felt such a powerful emotion. I didn't know what I felt so much despair over, though. Obviously, it was over my present predicament, but I wasn't sure what about it hurt the most. Was it that I had been pawned off like a slave? Was it that my mother, the mother of a saint, had been blinded by money? Was it that the villagers had watched in silence as a disciple of the Lord was thrown into a carriage? Or was it that I, daughter of God, lamented my misfortune like a mortal? I decided it was a trial. My Father, the Lord God, was testing my worthiness of being his daughter. So I choked back my urge to cry and sat in silent contemplation for almost 3 weeks as I rocked around the carriage. The coachman treated me well enough, but I'm certain it was only because he didn't want his precious cargo dying before he could deliver it. He did not, by any means, think me as a child of God. The 3rd week, the carriage arrived at the city. It was much larger than a village I had grown up in, with many, many more people crowding the streets. Something about them felt different too. They all spoke in a tongue foreign to me, which is when I realized I was far, far away from home. I was delivered to a lavishly decorated mansion of the region's lord. Brightly colored flowers bloomed wildly in the garden as guests laughed and ate extravagant meals. And in addition to them, there were probably 4 times as many slaves moving around the grounds, getting a range of looks from everyone we passed, from smartly dressed men to scrawny, emaciated servants. I was led to the Lord's chambers. The Lord was surrounded by beautiful women.
She's 9.
Yeah. Perhaps they were slaves, or perhaps they were prostitutes. I couldn't tell. Among them were some girls hardly older than me. They all wore thin swaths of cloth, barely covering themselves at all. The Lord looked me up and down. With a laugh he said,
"Welcome, daughter of God. You'll be performing miracles for me now."
"Miracles are not something to be performed for one single person's benefit," I replied, shocked and furious he said something so utterly blasphemous. In response, he said,
"I bought you. You are my property. You have no right to an opinion."
But I would not have any of it. I entreated him to give up his indulgent lifestyle and devote himself to the service of the Lord. But the more I pleaded, the deeper the creases of his face grew. Thinking back on it now, it was hardly surprising. A 9-year-old girl was scolding the most powerful man in the region. I believed it was my duty, and that I was only doing what was right. But he surely saw it as incredible arrogance. So the Lord forced his will upon me. He bound my hands and feet, and cut me without my permission, filling a goblet with my blood and passing it around to his guests. Yeah.
A saint's blood and good fortune to all!
That was when I realized the Lord was only interested in the approval of others. He reveled in their envy as he pranced about showing off his curious new toy, me. He didn't need my miracles. Neither he nor any of his guests were afflicted with disease or misfortune. They were all richly blessed. Every time he threw a banquet, he drained me of my blood. It became nearly impossible to find a spot on either of my arms that wasn't swollen, reddish black gash. And soon, because my arms weren't providing enough blood for him, the cutting spread to my legs. I lived in a haze of half-consciousness. Honestly, I'm amazed it didn't kill me, though perhaps the Lord was simply taking care not to take more than my body could spare. Watching the wealthy partygoers laugh and sip my blood through their bleary eyes, another wave of despair came over me. My miracles, my blood, were not meant to be appetizers at a feast. They were meant for the sick and the poor. Despite my wishes, the Lord persisted to squeeze me dry, day in, day out, for his own enjoyment. Okay, I'm just gonna save it here. Hey, you! Yeah, no, you! The one in front of us! Did you like the video?
Maybe consider subscribing? We like your company.
Okay, see you next video.